Welcome to this deep dive. We'll be exploring self-knowledge and some pretty deep spiritual insights, all drawn from ancient Indian philosophy.
Sounds intense.
It is, but in a good way. We're going to be looking at excerpts, specifically, from something called OSHVST05 Shiv Sutra 05 DO10 Amer U.
Catchy title.
Yeah, don't worry about the pronunciation too much. Just think of it as, well, like a glimpse into a really old tradition of wisdom.
Okay, so we're time traveling back to ancient India. What's the big takeaway here?
Well, it's not really about religion. It's more about the universal questions this text raises.
Like what?
Like the nature of the self, the whole concept of illusion, and this idea of pursuing true knowledge.
Sounds like some deep stuff. Anything else we should know before we get started?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
The source claims you already possess this ultimate knowledge.
Hold on, I already have it.
It says it's just hidden, like behind a veil of illusion. Pretty intriguing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Now I'm even more curious.
So let's dive in.
Okay, let's do it. Where do we start?
So one of the most fascinating things about this text is how it equates the mind
Okay.
to the true self, what it calls Atman, and says this Atman is a part of this universal consciousness.
So it's not just about quieting your mind or something.
Exactly. Not the usual clear your mind meditation advice. It's more about like really understanding what your mind truly is. Does that make sense?
It's starting to.
Good, because it gets a little abstract from here.
Lay it on me.
The source uses this analogy to explain the mind. It says, the mind is like a wave on the ocean.
Okay, I can see that.
It might seem separate on the surface, right? But really it is the ocean.
But let's not truly separate it all.
Right. In the same way, your individual consciousness, like the you that you think you are,
Yeah.
it's all part of a vast cosmic consciousness.
So basically, we're all connected on some level.
Exactly. But then how does that change anything for me?
That's a good question. It's one thing to say we're all connected, but what does that mean for my daily life?
Right. Like, how does that actually affect me?
Exactly.
Well, that's where Maya comes in.
Maya, what's that?
So Maya is the illusion, the veil, the thing that's stopping us from seeing that interconnectedness.
Oh, yeah.
It's the illusion of separateness. It makes you attached to stuff, and it has you chasing like all those temporary pleasures.
So Maya's what tricks us into thinking we're separate individuals instead of all part of a larger whole?
Exactly.
Okay, but what does this text say about how we can see through that illusion?
Well, the text has this powerful metaphor, right? It says that we're so busy with all the weeds in our lives.
Weeds.
Yeah, all of our anxieties and desires and all the negative thoughts. It says we're so focused on those that we miss the flowers.
A flower is being...
The true essence of our being.
Wow. So getting caught up in all those weeds can really block you from seeing what truly matters. Yeah. What are some examples of those weeds that might be holding us back?
Well, think about it. How much time do you spend comparing yourself to others? Or chasing after things you think will make you happy?
Too much, probably.
Right. So all those anxieties, desires, and negative thoughts, those are the weeds that are stopping us from reaching our full potential.
That makes a lot of sense. So we have Maya making us focus on the weeds, but how do we shift our attention to the flowers? What's the next step on this journey of self-discovery?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. The source then starts talking about siddhis.
Siddhis, what are those?
They're like supernatural powers.
Okay, this just got a lot more interesting. So like flying and mind reading and stuff.
Yeah, things like that.
But wait, what do supernatural powers have to do with self-knowledge?
That's the thing. It's like a warning, even for those who are seeking spiritual enlightenment. Because you can easily get sidetracked, even when you're on a spiritual path.
So you're saying even people who are on this journey of self-discovery can fall into traps?
Exactly. The text points out how, like, people will flock to gurus who perform miracles.
Oh, I've heard about those guys.
They go to them looking for answers to their problems, like looking for solutions to external problems.
Yeah.
But they're totally missing the points, like going to a therapist to get financial advice.
Right, you're in the wrong place. You're missing the root of the problem.
Exactly. So the source emphasizes that, like, true transformation comes from inner work.
Okay, that makes
It's
sense.
not, from external displays of power.
So it's about understanding yourself, not about trying to control things outside of yourself.
Right. It's so easy to get caught up in wanting those quick fixes, like magic solutions or something. But real change has to come from within.
So how do we even begin that inner work?
Oh, that's a great question. And that's what we're going to get into next.
So to get to the heart of that inner work,
Yeah.
the source introduces this concept of moha.
Moha. Okay, what is that?
It's like this deep-rooted attachment
Attachment, okay.
to external things.
External things. Like what?
People,
Okay.
possessions,
Okay.
even ideas.
So are you saying we're supposed to, like, detach from everything, everyone?
Not exactly.
Mm.
No, it's more about recognizing the intoxicating nature of these attachments.
It's intoxicating.
Yeah, the Source actually calls it like a chemical intoxication
Wow, okay.
that clouds our judgment
Yeah.
and traps us in these like cycles of suffering.
So how do we get out of that?
Well, that's where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
The Source uses this analogy. It says, we're like a king whose life force is trapped in a bird cage.
Hold on, I'm trying to picture a king with, like, a tiny bird cage inside him.
It's not the king, it's the king's life force.
Okay.
That's trapped.
Got it. So the cage is like a metaphor.
Yeah. For all this stuff we cling to,
Okay.
that actually holds us back.
I'm starting to get it. But don't healthy relationships or even goals require some attachment? Like, how do we find that balance?
That's the key, finding that balance.
Yeah.
It's not about denying emotions or becoming indifferent.
Right.
It's about recognizing when attachment becomes a source of suffering, when it's keeping you from experiencing true joy and freedom.
So moha is like that unhealthy attachment, the clinging that makes us blind to what might actually make us happy.
Yeah.
It sounds like a tough cycle to break.
It can be. But the Source offers a path, a way out of this trap. It points towards sahaja vidya,
Sahaja vidya,
which translates to innate wisdom.
innate wisdom. So we already have this wisdom inside us, but if it's innate, why isn't everyone wise?
Because the obstacle, as you probably guessed, is moha.
Uh-huh. That makes sense.
So conquering those deep-rooted attachments, that's what allows this innate wisdom to kind of like unveil itself.
Oh, okay. So it's not like you just learn this wisdom.
No.
You uncover it.
Think of it like, you're in a city full of light pollution and you're trying to see the stars.
Right.
You have to move away from all that glare to really appreciate the beauty that's always been there.
Okay, I like that. So this isn't just a passive thing where wisdom gets downloaded into you.
No, it's active work.
You have to identify what you're clinging to and figure out how to, like, let go.
That's the heart of it.
So this deep dive is really pushing us to look inward, isn't it?
It is.
And you mentioned that this innate wisdom, it's available to everyone. So why are so many people still feeling lost or disconnected? Why aren't more people tapping into this potential?
Because they're stuck behind the veil of illusion, behind Maya. We get so wrapped up in the everyday, the distractions of the material world, that we forget to nurture that connection with our true selves. We focus on the weeds and we miss the flowers.
Right. And, even those seeking spiritual growth, they can fall into these traps, right?
They can. Remember the warning about the siddhis?
Right. Those supernatural powers. It's
Yeah.
easy to see how those would be really tempting.
Exactly.
But ultimately, it's a distraction.
True enlightenment isn't about, seeking validation from others or control over others. It's about understanding your place in the universe and recognizing that inner connection, cultivating inner peace and wisdom.
That's beautiful. It makes you think about what you're really striving for in life.
It does, doesn't it?
Are you looking for external validation or just fleeting pleasures, or are you searching for something deeper, more lasting?
The Source really invites us to examine those cages that we build around ourselves.
Yeah.
The attachments that are preventing us from experiencing true freedom and joy. And it reminds us that, the key to unlocking that freedom, it lies within each of us.
It all comes back to that, doesn't it?
It does. It's about turning inward, quieting the mind, and allowing that innate wisdom to kind of emerge.
So how do we do that? What are some practical steps we can take to quiet the mind and start uncovering this sahaja vidya? I mean, it's easy to say quiet the mind, but how?
Well, practices like meditation and self-reflection, those are key. They give you that space to be able to distinguish between the weeds and the flowers, to recognize what truly nourishes you.
It's about creating a space for introspection, like really listening to that inner voice that often gets drowned out by, the chaos of daily life.
Yeah.
That seems like a real challenge in today's world with all the distractions, all the demands on our attention.
It is a challenge.
Yeah.
But the Source suggests it's a challenge worth undertaking.
Right.
Because what's at stake is, nothing less than realizing your true potential, uncovering your innate wisdom, experiencing true freedom and joy.
Wow. That's powerful. And it kind of leads me to this question, like, what happens when we actually do manage to quiet the mind?
Yeah.
and shed all those layers of illusion, what does that sun of true wisdom actually reveal? So we've talked about this veil of illusion, all the distractions and the attachments that keep us from seeing our true selves. But what happens when we actually do the work, when we start clearing away all those obstacles? What does this sun of true wisdom actually reveal?
For me, the most profound thing is realizing we're not separate from the universe. We are the universe, experiencing itself.
It's like, finding out the world is round. Everything you thought you knew changes. But how do you really, wrap your head around that, being the universe? It still sounds pretty abstract to me.
Well, think about it this way. Every atom in your body, it was once stardust. You're literally made of the same stuff as the cosmos.
Wow, okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
And the source is reminding us that this knowledge isn't something new. It's something we've always had. It's just been buried, under layers of all that illusion and attachment.
So this deep dive, it's like a call to action, right?
It is.
It's not just about understanding these concepts. It's about applying them to our lives, making choices that help us shed that, veil of illusion, connect with our true nature. But where do you even begin?
The source says that when we conquer that deep-rooted attachment, that moha, something remarkable happens.
What's that?
We tap into a wellspring of wisdom and knowledge, really. That's been within us all along. The sahaja vidya, that innate wisdom.
It's like we have this incredible treasure map inside us, but we have to clear away all the debris to even see it. So what would you say, the first step is on that treasure hunt?
The first step is awareness. Start paying attention to your thoughts, your reactions, your desires. Notice where you're getting caught up in the weeds. And ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this bringing me closer to my true self? Or is it just another distraction?
So cultivate that self-awareness and then use that awareness to make different choices.
Yeah, choices that are more aligned with your innate wisdom.
Exactly. So it's about recognizing those cages that we've built around ourselves, those attachments that limit our freedom and joy.
Right.
And then gently, patiently start to dismantle them.
It's a process.
It sounds like a lifelong journey, really. Not exactly a quick fix.
It is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
But it's a journey worth taking, because with each step we take, toward our true selves, we experience more freedom, more joy, and a deeper connection to everything, to the universe and everyone in it.
And that brings us back to this amazing idea. If we're all part of this vast cosmic consciousness, then we're all interconnected. We're all fundamentally one.
We are.
That really changes everything, doesn't it? About how we see ourselves, how we relate to others, how we interact with the world around us.
It changes everything. And it suggests we have so much more potential than we realize. If we really are the universe experiencing itself, well, then we're capable of anything.
This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
We've gone from ancient texts to practical advice on quieting the mind and cultivating self-awareness. So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
I hope they understand that they already possess infinite potential, that the wisdom they're seeking is already within them, waiting to be uncovered. And by quieting the mind, by examining their attachments, and by making choices that are aligned with their true selves, they can start to experience real freedom, true joy, and that interconnectedness it's their birthright.
That's a really powerful message to end on. Remember, the source says you already have infinite potential. What are you going to do with that knowledge? What step can you take today to start shedding the veil of illusion and connect with your true self? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, keep exploring the depths of your own being.
Please like, share and subscribe.